Welcome back to Dealing With It. Today we're going to be playing Victoria 3 on the patch 1.5.9, I believe. This series will be just like all my other series, only it'll be Victoria 3, it'll be edited so that there won't be any pauses or time that I spend thinking left in the video. So basically I play for a pretty decent amount of time and then I boil it down for you based on when I'm talking and explaining things. So you don't have to wait for all the time that I had to spend waiting, because you do spend some time waiting in this game. Anyway, patch 1.5 of Victoria 3 has been a major improvement in my opinion. I did play a little test game as Japan. I do enjoy playing as Japan and doing the little isolated economic industrialization start. And the music, by the way, is the game's soundtrack, but it's not the in-game music. I'm just overlaying the music on top of the video that you're seeing right now. But 1.5 deals mainly with the military. It also makes it so that your different provinces or your states, I think they're called states, yeah. Your different states have different local prices, local markets, so that building things that supply one another, that say make wood, and then you use that wood in the same state, is better than having them spread out everywhere. And that is actually impacted over time by technology as well. Thus far, I've really been enjoying playing the game. I think that Paradox is a lot closer to reaching the point that Victoria 3 would be acceptable in my opinion to be released as. Because when it first released, it was fun, but it was okay. I enjoyed it. I played a decent amount. I saw the potential, but I decided to go ahead and move on. But for this playthrough, we're going to be playing as Prussia. This will be a very military-centric playthrough, most likely. Prussia is very much about the land military, so we'll get to see the 1.5 military update. There are a few bugs left in the game at the moment that I do know about, that the developers will hopefully fix within maybe a week. Honestly, it'll probably be fixed during this playthrough, actually. And I'll explain those bugs a little bit later on. But anyway, let's go ahead and let's jump right into Prussia. We'll be an absolute monarchy. So we have a king or queen with hereditary transfer of power. We're Protestant, North German. Standard of living is decent, impoverished. There are much worse places to live on the earth at this time. Literacy is pretty decent. Our population is number 12 worldwide. China is of course number 1. China, number 1. And then we have the British East India Company, Russia, etc. But GDP wise, we're number 10. So we're more efficient per capita. I really do enjoy like the economic simulation behind this game. I know that the simulation is not like super accurate. There's not like detailing stockpiles and exactly how much you produce and exactly how much you've consumed. They did like an in-between of market prices, which is a equation of supply divided by demand or something like that. Anyway, I think our first question is going to be what research you want to go with. I tend to always focus on production when playing this game because this is an economic simulation. If you can make more stuff, that's how you win basically. Our weekly innovation is 58. That's okay. I want to bump that up a lot higher to the max of 113 eventually. 58 is an okay amount of innovation to start with. I might want to go for nitroglycerin. Fractional distillation is okay. Production of liquor isn't bad, and of course making more of anything is good, assuming that you have the additional input good of sugar. And I believe it makes you need glass as well, but glass kind of needs more demand actually. At least in the playthrough of Japan I did. Canneries and crystal glass, they don't really appeal to me too much. Nothing in society really stands out to me. Water tube boiler can be nice for reducing your employment numbers, but I think nitroglycerin is going to be where it's at to increase our raw goods supply of coal, iron, lead, sulfur, and gold. I don't think the Prussians have a gold mine at the moment. No, we do not. We do not have any access to gold yet. Anyway, your military is now divided into armies in patch 1.5. These armies now have multiple generals. I haven't gotten into a fight yet, so I'm interested to see how that works, but you can have like up to 4 commanders per army. And apparently you really do need more than one commander at a time, because it's possible, I've read, to have the commander die during battle, and then your organization, which is like your will to fight, drops down tremendously to something like 25% max, I think. And then the army will just fall apart if they're in battle. You also need a balance of units of infantry, artillery, cavalry, and whatever kind of that unit you use. There's different kinds of meta. There's like offensive armies or defensive armies based on a ratio of infantry to artillery and cavalry. Offensive armies tend to have more artillery. Supposedly naval invasion armies should have a lot of cavalry. And then defensive armies will tend to be mainly skirmish infantry. Though I'm interested to see where the kill ratios come from. Or who does the kill rate. There we go. Yeah, artillery provides kill rate. So you probably still want to have artillery. Just no cavalry really in a defensive army. I would probably just go infantry, artillery. Offensive, I'd probably have a mix of all of them. But I could be wrong. Maybe that's the wrong thing to do. And then a naval invasion force would be infantry and cavalry. Which kind of brings up an interesting point. Because if you have your ratio wrong, your units, your army's max organization gets reduced to a maximum of 25% like it is here in the Cavalier Corps. That's because we have no infantry, no artillery, and not only, but all 15 cavalry. That's it. This one is completely imbalanced. If I hit this little minus here, it'll actually destroy the building that is supplying the troops for this unit. So you can't seem to change, like, I want 5 cavalry to change into infantry. You have to specifically build the unit as the building is built, and then it gets assigned to the army. And supposedly you can have 4 like armies within the army, 4 units within the army that move around separately, all along the same front, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I haven't seen it yet in person, but we'll get there. We're just not going to use this Cavalier Corps until we can fix the ratio of troops. Looking at our current situation, we have a diplomatic pact at risk of breaking, which is a customs union with Lip. It will break if relations between us and Lip are less than cordial. We've also got 25.2% of pops are below the minimum expected standard of living in Prussian Brunswick. So that's this state right here. So what's going on right here? They just don't have any jobs, I guess. Yeah, there's no buildings, it's just peasants. That's all that there is. I'm not too worried about that then. Paper apparently is expensive in our market, and ammunition is expensive. I'm not too surprised about these things. I'm also not too worried about them. Let's take a quick look. Let's set up our outliner over here. I always like to see our interest groups. I already have the army showing. I used to like to have the states and the market on the side here, but I've decided I don't want to do that anymore. We have companies now, which are special bonuses that you can get by establishing companies. I haven't gotten to do it yet. Japan wasn't able to do it, but we already have one. But we already have one in play, which is Friedrich Krupp. What does this one do exactly? It gives 18% company throughput bonus, 33% company construction bonus. So every building that is associated with gets 18% throughput bonus, and every building associated with it gets built faster. Very cool. So that is steel mills, arms factories, well, arms industries, and then artillery foundries. All of those are getting 18% company throughput, which is a big bonus. That's a lot of money. If we reach 100 prosperity, which is increasing while it's at least 25 pounds higher than the global average, whichever is lower, and decreases when it is below 5 or 75% of the global average, whichever is higher. So we have to be doing better. Our productivity is not yet 25 in Friedrich Krupp, so our prosperity is not going to increase yet. But once it gets to 100, if it got to 100, we would get plus 10% kill rate and plus 10% railway building throughput. That's wonderful. Oh yeah, that reminds me actually. anyway, you have a limited number of established companies based on technology and some other bonuses. I've been learning about this as I go. I don't know everything about 1.5, but I've been reading up on it here and there. Anyway, electricity and transportation are now actually specific to each state. So you can't have a railway in Königsberg providing transportation for a city in Azerbaijan. Let's check out the journal here, see if there's anything that we can get. I think these agendas only activate whenever we start to actually play, so we may need to first assign some things to get constructed. In this game you want to always be building, although sometimes it does occur that you build so much that you run out of population and then you kind of death spiral a little bit because your economy was so based around construction. That happened to me when I played Mexico in one game. I know that there's ways to play nice with the little states here to integrate them into Germany, but I've never done it. I haven't actually played Prussia yet, so this is a new experience for me. Let's figure out what we want to make. Chances are it's going to be something like construction or tools or iron or something like that. Steel is decently priced, but I'd rather it be of a decent price so that it's incentivized to keep that building employed. Thankfully, I won't have to worry too much about bootstrapping a industrial revolution in Germany since it's already happened. Germany is in 1836 where I was at in like 1854 as Japan, maybe? No, I was still behind as Japan then, actually. Germany's probably like 60 years ahead of Japan at least, pretty much. Using the market doesn't even actually do anything right now because we're not using the iron and all that stuff that we should be using because we do iron frame building, which means that we use iron, tools, fabric, and wood. I need to provide a demand for that so I can actually understand what the price is. And I think what we're going to do is going to make the assumption that we're going to build construction offices, construction sectors, to increase our construction so that we can build more construction sectors. I'm joking, but that is basically the premise of what we're going to do. And that's how you just snowball, snowball, snowball. Now, I want to build construction sectors ideally in a state that has tools, fabric, wood, and an iron supply. Construction points, as far as I know, I don't know if this is true, but I think it is, I don't think they get modified by some kind of local price for not being in the same state. I think there's still like a national thing. If I'm wrong, please do correct me though. Let's find out where our tooling workshops are located. So Westphalia and Rhineland. Yeah, this little area here is a very big industrial site. There's a lot of coal fields and iron. And I think in Westphalia we have a steel mill with access to both iron and coal, so we could have a local price of coal that is actually quite cheap in comparison to the national average. We need to consider getting that built actually. That'll actually help our steel mill. We'll do that at some point in time. Let's start with building a bunch of... yeah, we have 241,000 peasants, no big deal. Bunch of construction sectors here in Westphalia. You can see now the upkeep predicted is actually different based on the state. Some states are significantly more expensive than others in certain instances. Some are cheaper. Westphalia is actually the cheapest state for construction offices at the moment. So we're going to assign enough construction offices that we use all of our construction points. We're going to stay where we're at. So with us using all construction, we are running a budget surplus of 570 pounds. That's decent. We have a gold reserve of 1.15 million, which is a pretty good amount, so we do want to do some deficit spending to build our economy up. The stronger we make our economy, the stronger we can make everything else associated with it, such as our economy, and the military, of course. We are going to be competing against Russia, Austria, France, Britain, a lot of people. And I've never played a situation in Victoria 3 where I had this many potential enemies next to me. I've only played as Mexico, I've played as, I think it was Venezuela or New Granada. I've also played a couple times as Japan because I'm a weeb. I mean, these days, who isn't? Like, seriously, though, like, I've met, like, dudes that would call themselves, like, rednecks, basically, that are like, yeah, I love anime, dude. Anime is great. I'm like, yeah. We're gonna worry about our relationship with the other people in a second, but first let's just get some things built. Our iron is actually absurdly cheap. This can't be right. We have 75 trade routes adding to our sell orders in Prussian market. We have 12.5 trade routes adding to our buy orders, so I'm cool with selling some iron. Like, I want my iron mines to make some money, because yes, they're not making any money. There's the goods that they're buying and the wages that they're paying is way more than the price of the iron. So we need to sell iron. I also need to sell some mana wars, if we can do that, because the price of mana wars is too damn low. And explosives will get used by our mines in not too long, and glass of course is so friggin' cheap. Let's actually go over to our cities here and see if we're set to use, yes, we do have market squares, so I cannot increase the glass demand significantly. We have state-run churches. I'd rather have free churches, thank you very much. It saves us a little bit of money too. Oh, no, there it goes. For some reason, it hadn't updated yet. The iron is appropriately priced. However, well, yeah, I don't want external people sending me iron. So what I'm going to do is, I'm already protecting domestic supply. Okay. If I encourage exports though, I have a higher tariff on imports. Like, protecting the domestic supply, well, that does keep our iron from being, like, bought by other people, and I'd rather protect domestic supply, so we'll do that. We're also going to protect domestic supply of wood. That's another construction material that is quite important. That should be protected. Same thing with tools. Tools are too valuable. Steel, too valuable. Coal is a big one. I don't want anybody buying my coal if possible. I think that's it. I think pretty much everything else is for sale. Anyway, we still do need some better mana wars. We're importing mana wars for what? Do we have like one ship? We have one naval base. Wow, okay. Then I guess we won't worry about the mana wars. Tools are pretty decently cheap. Iron could be cheaper. Wood is, as usual, kind of expensive. We should already be using tools in our lumber mills, right? Yeah, logging camps. We are using sawmills. We have the option of switching to railroads, but we don't have any railroads actually built yet. We just have the technology unlocked. Ooh, I can switch government administration, all of it to standardized filing system. That would give me a lot, well, maybe not a lot more, just a little bit more, I think. Bureaucracy. Let's actually take a closer look here. So everybody except for 2 are set properly. Gotcha. I'll go ahead and I'll do that. Why not? Our government administration is administrative clergy. Let's take a look at what our religious laws are at the moment. We have freedom of conscience. I'm not a fan of the devout people in this game. So we're going to switch to secular administration. Same thing with the university. We're going to do secular academia instead. We can upgrade the universities to philosophy department for a little bit more paper cost and a more advanced workforce. I'll take the increase for the innovation. So we got that fixed up. Our livestock ranches are doing increased wool gathering. Now this does cost grain to increase our fabric. It also lowers the amount of meat that we produce in exchange for producing a small amount of fertilizer. I think that I would rather have fertilizer plants, which I do. Awesome. Let's take a quick look at the fertilizer cost. It's pretty decent. So I could switch back to sheep ranch. They would lose money actually. If they would lose money, then okay, I'll let them stay where they're at. But everything else seems alright in comparison. Although I'm not sure. Well, I could have one of them switch to precision tools. And the other one, no, they don't actually want to do that. Not enough demand for luxury furniture, it seems. Alright, I think we picked all of our little things that we want to pick here. Alright, what we're going to build next is probably going to be... Let's look at our budget now, actually. Hold on. Probably not a construction sector. I'd rather stay where we're at. And I'd rather build maybe some more iron mines. Or some coal. Actually, we do have railroads now. Let's take a quick look at what our infrastructure is looking like. So we're having some issues with infrastructure actually. We're only at +3 in Westphalia. And Westphalia is this state here, which has quite a lot of our industry. It has the Rohr, I don't know how to say that, the Rohr coal field, which gives +10% coal mine building throughput. It's very much an industrial area. This entire area has been historically industrial. We're almost out of infrastructure. We might want to go ahead and try to ignite the railroad industry here in Westphalia. So we'll start working on that. Get rid of these construction sectors that we don't need. You know what, before we start screwing with all this construction sector stuff, let's actually address our budget, make sure that we are where we want to be. So let's start with the government. Right now we're a legitimate government. We have an absolute monarchy, which means that we can pretty freely switch interest groups in and out of the government. Currently we consist of the Junkers and the armed forces. I'm not sure having the armed forces here is something that really stands out to me as a good idea. The question is whether or not there are any laws that we want changed that they support. Like, I don't care for National Guard or Secret Police at the moment. We're already at the best per capita taxation. Oh my goodness, we're at the best taxation that we can get at the moment. I'd rather have proportional. Having tenant farmers sucks. I'd rather have at least homesteading, because this increases the landowner's political strength, but at least it's not serfdom. Serfdom is even worse. I don't really care about colonies currently, or do I actually? I would like to get some colonies elsewhere to gain access to other types of resources. So maybe we'll think about trying to switch out colonization. Local police forces, questionable whether they have dedicated police forces. That's something to keep them around for, but then they are 14.8%. Intelligentsia are smaller and 7.4%. Industrialists is smaller too. So our best bet to pass either colonial affairs or the police would be actually the military, which is fine. I don't dislike the military interest group. They're useful. It's necessary to have a competent military. But everything else is not a big deal. Let's actually go for, I think, colonial affairs. Do I go with resettlement or exploitation? I think I go for resettlement. Oh, hold on, wait. Oh, I should have checked who would that piss off. Because I just saw it would upset the radical folk, the rural folk. They're only 7.4% though. I think it can handle that. They can be pissed off for a little while. I guess they're like isolationists or something like that, right? Oh gosh, where is it? So is it reformer? That's because the leader is a reformer. Yeah, they're isolationist. They don't like doing any kind of colonization. Except frontier colonization. Yeah, it's a little bit annoying when you're trying to develop an empire. Yeah, our government, by the way, is quite legitimate. I'm not sure. I think we could stomach some more taxes. At 10 for our standard of living, that's not bad. There's places that are much worse. And the minimum expected is pretty low. Well, the average minimum expected. The minimum expected in our nation it's probably higher than that, I bet. But anyway, we want taxes from our people so that we can build the things that we want built. Because the private industry is not bad. It's a lot better actually now. The private construction queue. They're a lot more capable at building things where it makes sense to build them, I've noticed. Which I really appreciate. So they're better at it now, but I would still prefer to be like more hands-on. Anyway, we can push our taxes up further so it could sustain some construction sectors getting built in Westphalia. So I'm going to build one construction sector in Westphalia and then follow that up with a railway that will not take up all the infrastructure, right? So construction sectors, they use 2 infrastructure usage. I'm double checking everything because I don't know for sure the values in 1.5. They've adjusted a lot of these costs. So 2 infrastructure, Westphalia had 3 remaining. We should be good. And there's no private constructions that are also building in Westphalia, so we don't have to worry about that. We are still considered a legitimate government even after that tax increase, so we'll stay right there. We'll also consider using our authority for more taxes. So right now we have a tax on liquor, we have a tax on luxury furniture, and we also have a tax on wine, interestingly enough. What are our other options? Well, I would never tax grain. I don't think that, I mean, there might be situations that would make sense, but I wouldn't do it just because it would impact the lives of the common folk so strongly. We're not going to tax something like super basic like clothes. I like to tax services. Services are just consumed by pops of little wealth levels 10 to 99. And it's a art need apparently at level 30 and up. They tend to give a pretty good amount of money, services do, so I like to take them on. And then what else would I like to tax? You don't want to tax your people completely to death. Like, that's one thing that you don't want to do. Do we already have transportation being produced somewhere? Because it says that we would generate some revenue. I thought for sure that we did not yet have any railways. We don't have any railways yet. Where is that transportation coming from? Urban centers. So urban centers are providing some transportation to my people. Got you. That I did not know that they did before you have the upgrade, which is the public trams at least. So, oh yeah, they do produce some basic transportation. Good. That means that there's already a market for transportation for the railways to enter into. Anyway, what are we going to build after the railway in Westphalia? Well, taking a look at the list of goods to see what I would like to produce next. Probably going to need, oh, I bet I should go ahead and produce a engine factory there. Because the railway will need engines, and the engine factory will be able to supply the railway directly from the steel. I believe it's called a motor industry, actually. Yeah, we need our first motor industry to get built. We're going to use 30 steel to produce 40 engines. Let's actually change this construction slightly. We'll go construction sector into motor industry. Or, no, we need to do the railway first, right? Because of the infrastructure problem. Gotcha. So I could do road maintenance in the interim to fix the infrastructure problem in Westphalia, because that is where I want to start my motor industry. Like, I know it's kind of close to France, and that's a problem. The Rhineland being like the main industrial center of, or the biggest industrial center of Germany being right next to France has been a problem. So I know that's something to consider. But it just makes the most sense, man. Like, it's inescapable. It's inescapable because of how the way local prices work. It's just much, much better for your buildings to have access to a local source in terms of paying a cheaper price. And it's true on Reddit, a lot of us were talking about how they needed like local markets and stuff, and I agreed with that. That made sense to me. But I also kind of wondered, like, how fast would the game run? And maybe you could multi-thread it by like dividing up every state across different cores and threads or something like that. I like to think about like how these games might be run. I've got a little bit of a background in software engineering. Anyway, yeah, so if we build the construction sector in Westphalia, that will mean that the motor industry would put us over the cap, which would screw with the market for everything in Westphalia. So maybe we should do the railway first, and then construction sector. That would guarantee that the motor industry would be finished. But the infrastructure gets used whether the factory is full or not, so I think we just build the construction sector somewhere else. Somewhere else that also has a tooling workshop, or ideally both, which is Rhineland, which is, right against the French. But the Rhineland does have tooling workshops and steel mill, so I would like construction sectors here. Sadly, it looks like there's no access to local wood. No, there's some local wood. Good deal, good deal. And the population is a decent number of peasants, not a lot, so the Rhineland can't be developed too much further, but we can get some more out of it. Go ahead and put a construction sector at the top of the queue. So we'll go construction sector, railway, and then motor industry. Now that construction sector that I just built, what was going to be the upkeep cost on that? 3.95. I'm running a budget surplus of 9.38. I could probably supply 2 construction sectors there actually. So we'll add a second one to the top of the queue. And this will keep us set for not too long actually. Let's plan for one more thing to do after that. Man, we need to ship out our lead somewhere. Let's take a quick look at our trade routes here and see what we want to keep. Everything is an import trade route, which is fine. We need dyes in order to produce the higher levels of the textile mills, I believe. We're also importing all of our luxury clothes, which is probably normal since I don't think that we have access to silk to make the luxury clothes. Going into China one day might not be a terrible idea to get that. Silk, I mean. We're also importing sugar, so I want to see the market for sugar. Our market for sugar is, we are selling 286, so the vast majority does come from trade routes, and we are buying 307. Could we get away with producing more sugar and importing less? So we have rye farms here. Now rye farms I've not played with yet. They have the single crop, which is just grain. They can do potatoes, which makes liquor in exchange for a little less grain. They can do apple orchards, which do less grain in exchange for sugar and fruit. Okay. I don't think any of these dudes should be doing single crop. No, they're not. A lot of them are doing liquor production. Does that make a lot of sense? Switching to apple orchards is less money, so I suppose that's fine right now. Liquor production is, looks like we're producing 300 liquor per whatever unit of time, and we have a market of, yes, there we go. So using the nesting tooltips, I managed to get to the liquor market a little bit quicker. Looks like we have a lot of it being produced by subsistence farms. A good chunk is produced by food industries, but the rye farms are actually producing a lot as well. And our buy orders are entirely population consumption, so reducing the amount of liquor that we produce would be a negative thing. So we're not going to mess with the rye farms in order to get more sugar. We'll just leave it as it is. I think liquor is more expensive than sugar anyway. Or at least it's consumed a lot more strongly. The wheat farms are already on citrus, okay. Citrus orchards do produce a little less grain, well, a lot less grain in exchange for fruit and sugar. So I think we're going to have to keep that trade route for the sugar. So all these trade routes, we're going to leave them as they are. Although, there's clippers. We don't make our own clippers. Yes, we don't have a shipyard that produces clippers. That is weird. That's a little irritating, actually. Like I'm not irritated, but it's like, come on, man. Like, that's a hugely important thing to have access to, because it's used by your ports and stuff, fishing, and so on. Anyway, let's trade some stuff. We want to make some more money. Let's see, goods with considerable potential for export. So explosives, no. Hardwood is actually really cheap here. Selling this would not be a bad idea. Having it cheap does make production of arms cheaper though, because they use hardwood if I remember correctly. Yeah, they use hardwood and iron. Same thing with artillery foundries and other places like that. So I'm actually incentivized to keep hardwood fairly cheap based on the assumption that the logging camps that do hardwood are still profitable, which they are. So we're not doing hardwood. We're going to do glass. Glass is stupidly cheap. Glass needs a stronger demand. We don't have access to a very large amount to sell though. We'll just go with the Belgians, why not? Sulfur here is super cheap as well. I guess we don't yet have the paper industry producing. We do actually have them using the sulfur. Okay. Sulfur is not something I particularly want to export if I can get away with it. And the sulfur mine is still decently productive, so I'm not going to do a trade route for sulfur. Lead may be a different story. Just do a little French market trade route for lead. Try to increase the demand for lead. Our tools are also pretty cheap, but keeping our tools cheap is actually kind of important because they are used by so many different places. Other than that, we could trade small arms, but that would of course increase the price of our own military, so I'm not going to do that. But yeah, I think we're good on trade routes. Everything else is pretty decent. I don't think that we want to ship anything in, do we? Although it might be... We do have our own munition plants generating ammunition, which is good. And our barracks do want more of that ammunition. Producing more ammunition might not be a bad idea, but of course keeping it decently priced keeps the factory employed. So paper is actually going to be something that we want to address. So let's actually look into addressing paper here. It's so weird not to be at that step of just trying to start industrializing, because I played like Mexico, you start industrializing for the most part. Like you're industrial, but you're not really there. And then Japan, you're starting from like, you're making tools from wood. Yeah, I'm not used to that. So I got to get my mind in that phase of what is the objective. Anyway, we have a balance of minus 204. So paper mills, right now they produce 70. To address that balance of 204, I would need 2.9 paper mills. So I'm going to build 3 paper mills somewhere. Ideally, I want my paper mills built where I have my sulfur, but we'll see. Oh, so the only paper mills I have are in Brandenburg. Okay. So in Brandenburg, do we have sulfur? No, we do not have sulfur. So building the paper mill here was a bad idea, because sulfur is more expensive here. In Brandenburg, it is 39.4 pounds. In the Prussian market overall, it's 30.9 pounds. So yeah, these paper mills, they need to basically like get torn down eventually. They were fine back when it was just wood, but now we also need sulfur. Ideally, we would have access to dyes here as well, but it'd be kind of hard to get that combination. But man, if you had a state that had sulfur and dyes, you could have some really damn cheap, not cheap, but very efficient paper mills. So yeah, we're going to build paper mills somewhere else. We're going to build wherever the sulfur is, which is Silesia and Westphalia, as well as West Prussia. Gotcha. Silesia can support 40, Westphalia can support 29, West Prussia can support 40. Dude, neither of these have any modifiers to sulfur production, I don't think. Westphalia we kind of had to roll out because, or do we? Do we just keep building Westphalia? Because I'm going to build the construction sectors, and then I'm going to build the railway and the motor industry. The railway, I'm not sure it's going to supply enough industry fast enough, enough infrastructure fast enough to support us building the paper mills right behind it. So let's not do that. Having both Silesia and West Prussia be next to potential enemies doesn't make me very happy. Let's see which one would be better to build some industrial centers in. So Silesia has 400,000 peasants. West Prussia has 175,000. Silesia is actually way more populous than West Prussia. So Silesia could be the way to go, but West Prussia is struggling a bit more in terms of economics. There's nothing else really in West Prussia actually. We got some fishing, some trade centers, some rye farming. Not a whole lot going on here. I think I like the idea of building in West Prussia and then hoping that we push Russia back and take some land here so that West Prussia will be more defended. I really don't like having industrial centers next to my enemy where they can be easily reached. So yeah, let's go ahead, let's build the 3 paper mills here. Let's get those put in the queue at least, so that we know that we want them. Now building those paper mills is going to increase our goods consumption by 30 per level, so a 90 wood. We're going to have 90 wood more demand, as well as 30 more sulfur demanded. I don't think that's going to be a problem for us. For wood, that's just going to make it slightly more expensive. It's already kind of expensive, it's not that big a deal. We'll build some lumber mills or logging camps or whatever you want to call them later on. And then the sulfur, that would actually be good for the sulfur because it's actually way too cheap. Well, maybe it's best that you basically want the tightest margin between what you buy and what you sell in many cases on like basic goods, and then you build up from there. Let's check the infrastructure actually of West Prussia here. We have a bunch of infrastructure free. Paper mills, they do 2 each, so we'll be good. No problem there whatsoever. So that'll address the paper problem. We can't really address the luxury clothes. Groceries have a decent amount of demand though. We could consider building some grocers. Well, let's just take a step back and let's think about our external things that we got going on now. So let's turn on the diplomatic lens and let's see how everybody feels about us. So Great Britain is wary. France, oh my goodness. Prussia is cautious towards Prussia. No. France is cautious towards us. Russia is actually genial towards us. Their strategic desire is to befriend us. We may actually accept that, at least for the time being. And then we have Austria, which hates our friggin' guts. They want to antagonize us. France does not have any strategic desire towards us. Great Britain wants to antagonize us. That's not great. I'd rather not do that, but if I have to, I will. And apparently there's like a naval invasion bug right now where if the enemy fleet keeps coming out over and over, even though you keep defeating it, you'll never actually be able to launch the invasion because you won't get complete naval supremacy. And maybe that'll happen, or chances are I won't get to that point until we get a patch that fixes that for me though. And there's decent odds that if you're watching this, you're watching from the future, so you probably already have the fix. Anyway, yeah, Austria is our problem. Russia did surprisingly nice to us. We may want to see if perhaps they will do an alliance actually. And an alliance specifically allows them to always side with each other if they want to. We actually have some people that would accept alliances, impressively enough. We also need to consider that we need to integrate the rest of the German miners. I don't yet know how to do that. I know it's related to the journal entries, I believe. I think what I can do here is I can take a step forward and then let the journal entries start calculating. Because I definitely don't want to lose my customs union with Lip. And Lip is this tiny little state right here. They're actually a part of Westphalia. Interesting. Let's go ahead and let's improve our relationship with them specifically. It has something to do with customs union, right? You pull them into your customs union and then you end up integrating them eventually. I think that's how it works. We could actually get some of those, I bet, here. Alrighty then, so our customs union extends to all these people here. Okay. And what about these other people like Hanover? Hanover is actually in the British market, really? Let's take a look at the trade lens. Yeah, that is British market, yeah. Huh. I guess we'll be going to war with Britain for sure then. Because these people should be in my customs union. Alright, good deal. I don't have to worry about inviting to my customs union. I just need to take people from Britain if I can somehow. It's not like Italy where you have these dudes are already in the Austrian customs market. Okay. I've also played as Two Sicilies a little bit. Check them out, see what I could do. Russia would actually not accept an alliance. Okay. Yeah, pretty much nobody would accept an alliance at this point. That's actually not that uncommon. Like, the little states would accept an alliance, some of them would. But I'm not worried about having their super small and non-existent army join me. Like, how big is... Like, Bavaria might have a decent-sized army. 16 here, and then 14 there, so 30 total, like, battalions. It's not bad, it's not great. Apparently, we could send a change customs union to Brunswick, and they would accept. Yeah, let's do it. Join me, man. So this generates 1% progress each day towards increasing relations. Okay, and then Brunswick will be part of a customs union led by us. Yeah, thank you. Please do join us. So if I wanted to get Hamburg to switch to us, we would need relations between us being at least cordial. Alright. So if I get these people to like me enough, then I can get them to enter my customs union, and our markets will merge. I'd prefer to, steal them away from Britain if I can. I wonder if Britain can declare war on me for that and get away with it. Let's take a look. I think Britain has something like 250,000 men, something ridiculous. 144. Okay. We don't have that much less. 125. We could take them probably. Yeah, let's try to steal Hanover. They're cautious towards us. Let's say hello. So Hanover, Holstein is part of that Danish market, right? Let's see here. Yeah, that is the Danish market. No, I'm not worried about those dudes. Let's be nice to Hamburg, Bremen, Oldenburg. Not the Netherlands, but Schaumburg Lip, as well as Lip, sure. Brunswick, maybe? I don't know. I'd like to not go to war with Britain if I can. I cannot get an alliance out of Russia, which sucks. Mecklenburg. Is Mecklenburg part of our market? It is indeed. Gotcha. Alright, so we're working on tearing these dudes away from the British, ideally without fighting for it. Let's take a look at Austria's military size real quick, actually. Sometimes it's so hard just to get the country that you want. Like, I think I gotta go to political lens, maybe? Oh my gosh. Oh, here we go. So they have 190 troops, which is significantly more than we do. I wonder what kinds of troops those are. Russia has more, but Russia also has the problem of their troops are made of trash, usually. Line infantry. What about far away? Line infantry, okay. Now I assume the Austrians have all line infantry and something similar. Yeah, so they're at full fighting strength. We may wish to raise up a stronger army, because we have 125, whereas our biggest enemy, Austria, they have 190. The question is, can we economically support that? Right now, we pay like 15.7 thousand goods for military buildings. So we could probably go up quite a bit, actually. Well, military wages as well. So if we wanted to go up 30%, we'd probably have to pay like 10,000 budget per week or whatever. We've only got 2.04 thousand in unrealized taxes. That's really good. Very good. I think we rely upon Russia being nice to us. It might be silly to increase our relationship with Russia, but maybe we can get an alliance out of them. Do we want an alliance with them? I mean, I don't really see a reason not to have it. At least until we want to, you know, get this glorious German land back, which it clearly always was. It was never anything else. That leaves us with 175 influence to spend, which we can actually spend on somebody if we wanted to, but I don't think we care to do so at the moment, so we're just gonna not do that. Let's spend some of our authority here. There are no decrees that are already given. What I would like to probably do is encourage manufacturing industry in Westphalia, and probably the Rhineland. Do both of those. Although road maintenance does mean that we build faster, so let's take off Rhineland. Actually, let's do road maintenance in Rhineland. I don't think that gets the construction sector built. No, it does. It will. It'll have the overflow of the construction points later on. If you want to be real like min-maxy, you can do road maintenance in any state that you're building to build faster because of the plus 10% state construction efficiency. It'd be nice if I had some more authority. I don't have very much, even though I'm a monarchy. We're spending 200 to bolster the evangelical church? Why? Why is that? And what's so good about these dudes? Because they're royalist? Stop. Stop doing that. Don't do that. What is wrong with you? Encourage manufacturing industry in Rhineland. Then I have 151 more to spend. We could do encourage manufacturing industry in West Prussia. I like that idea. Let's go ahead and do that. Although we don't yet have anything to make use of that, so it doesn't make sense actually. Later on it'll make sense. Let's actually find, arms industry, fertilizer. Let's do encourage manufacturing industry in the Ruhr Valley. And then let's check again on what is using our authority. Consumption taxes, right. Let's double check our consumption taxes and see if we want to. And I know we haven't even really started playing the game, but that's kind of how Paradox games go. At least this one does. Stellaris is pretty... It's a nice ramp up in terms of micromanagement. But with like Victoria 3, EU4, Hearts of Iron 4 especially, there's a lot of setup. Anyway, we're only getting 3.77k on wine for 100 authority. That's not That's actually the best price that we can get for 100 authority. I'd like to maintain that, actually. So we'll stick right where we're at in that. But yeah, I think we're ready to finally start actually playing and advancing the game. There we go. It only took like, what, an hour or two? Oh my god. Probably not. Hopefully not. Brunswick accepted our offer to change our customs union. Fantastic. Welcome, Brunswick. Got a bunch of interest group things changing that I don't care too much about at the moment. I'm not going to like dig super deep into those at the moment. The one thing I really don't like is I actually don't like getting plus 10% infrastructure when the rural people are happy. Because whenever they become not super happy with you, and you were relying on that infrastructure, you get screwed over. So this is actually counterproductive in my experience. Them being pissed off having this technology spread go slower does kind of suck though. But the military loves us, which is great with me. Plus 10 offense and defense is great. Percent, not a flat plus 10. And Russia's doing an export route for fabric. Gotcha. Alright, so we got those journal entries active now. Let's see what this is. So we have the Schleswig-Holstein question. This question must be resolved before German unification can seriously be entertained. It will complete if Prussia controls part of Schleswig-Holstein, and no non-German country may own or control a part of the state. It will fail if another German country resolves this journal entry before us. If we complete it, we get 25% prestige for a little while. What the hell is, like, what is this? What part of the world is that? I know it's this. Is it this? Oh, it's this part of Denmark. Gotcha. So we would want to get these guys to actually switch to our customs union as well. Actually, maybe not our customs union. We might have to attack these dudes if we can't get like this. Maybe it's this national identity here. So we'll finish this if we have at least 75% of eligible countries have researched nationalism. Triggers the event German national identity. Maybe we want to do nationalism instead of nitroglycerin. 3 years. It's also 3 years for nitroglycerin. I think we might want to do nationalism instead. I want to understand sooner what that does exactly. That's probably our method of peacefully annexing people, is our sense of nationalism. We also have a domestic affairs to get our peasants to less than 35% of total population. Alright. Plus these other things that we've already done, such as serfdom, land-based taxation not being enacted, and the industrialists are not marginalized. We of course need to urbanize Prussia, so we need to build up our urban centers. Branching out, this is all about getting our eligible buildings to make use of rail transportation. These bonuses are okay, but they never really impress me that much. In the philosophy department, I need to build a level 5 university, I need to build a level 5 munition plant, and have it not be falling apart. Some of these missions can't be done as well. Like, that's something to consider. Steam engine time, motor industries, gotcha, railway, gotcha. Alright, anyway, onwards we go. There's a preserve no colonial affairs political movement with a little bit of radicalism. Not a big surprise, that is going to increase the stall chance of colonial resettlement, which had no stall chance until that friggin' movement came about. So that is a little bit annoying. I do really like how they do laws now more than before. It's like it's more of a pain in the ass, but it's better in a weird way. And honestly, I spent a lot of my time in this game looking at the construction queue. Actually, where are our interests? We probably don't have very many interests, do we? We have 5 of 6 strategic interests declared. Well, I might like to trade with the Chinese actually, so we're going to declare an interest in China. Or maybe specifically South China. I like the interest in South China. Let's do South China. Maybe we can take some treaty ports down here eventually. But of course we need a navy before we can pull that off. The Great Britain has responded angrily to the Qing ban on opium with multiple threats towards the government of Great King. Alrighty, let's see if they end up going to war or not. I do have it set that if there's ever like a diplomatic play, that it should pause. Brazil and Dutch hate each other. Spanish and Dutch hate each other. New Granada have declared Denmark to be their rival. Okay. Yeah, looks like their railway... Oh, wait. Let's be a little sweaty min-maxy here. Let's turn off the road maintenance in Rhineland, turn it on in Westphalia, and get those getting built faster, please. Yeah, so the railway will finish before the motor industry. Our South China interest has now activated, so we can actually take a look at trading for some goods from the Chinese now. Maybe we can import some tea from somewhere. I don't think that's a bad thing to do. We have some convoys on hand. And we could kind of get, like, our population to start considering it, maybe. I do like to provide them a variety. I'm a benevolent ruler, after all. I like to take care of my people. Our grain is kind of expensive at the moment. We could import grain from the king. I don't know how to say it. I know it's not king. We could import a lot of grain from the Chinese market, which would increase the price of grain there, but not by much actually. Holy crap. That would lower the price of grain in our market. That would cost quite a few convoys. We would need to start to have more ports to support some more trade routes if we wanted to do that. But I think for now we don't import any grain because it does make our peasants' lives a little bit harder. But there is a point apparently economically where you want the peasants to have a little bit harder lives so that they switch jobs in some cases. Iron demand is actually up, so we might want to do some iron mines in not too long. So the king, oh my goodness, they already started the route. Alright then. So we don't have to spend the convoys, they do. I'm a-okay with that. For some reason our money went way up. Ah yes, because of investment pool. So the capitalists are building fertilizer plants in Westphalia. Hopefully the railway will be staffed and ready to go before then. Let's consider building another railway somewhere else where we have a bad amount of infrastructure. So I'd like to actually build one in Ruhr and the Rhineland to fix those infrastructure values. That'll increase the amount of demand on our motor industries as well, so that they can actually get fully staffed properly. Well, they won't be fully staffed, they'll be kind of close to it. We'd have to build one more railway, I believe, because they use 5 engines per level, whereas the motor industry, that produces 40. And 40 divided by 5, oh, that's 8 actually. True, we would need to build 8 railways in order to create significant enough demand. Okay. So I'm not going to worry too much about those at the moment. I do think that we want to build those 2 railways that I put into the queue though. I might want to build some lumber mills, a bunch of lumber mills, to push down the cost of wood. Right now the cost of wood makes up 9.35 thousand. 9.35 thousand, that's not as bad as iron. I could push down the price of iron more effectively by getting nitroglycerin, but also by just building more iron mines. So we have a deficit of 172, and currently iron mines produce what? 40 each. So 4 iron mines gets us to net zero, roughly. 5 iron mines gets us to slightly cheaper. I think that we should build some iron mines. Oh my goodness, the goddamn capitalists, because I have the decree here to increase the infrastructure, it appears as if the infrastructure is much higher than it will be. So they assigned this fertilizer plant to get built, even though I'll eventually get rid of that. Although I am building a lot of things here. I kind of think I might as well just build the iron mines here, honestly. Is there already a university here? Is a question I would like to have answered. The answer is no. I might build some universities here, so let's build a bunch of iron mines. Let's build like 5 iron mines here. That'll get our steel mill here some better deals as well. Let's take a look at our construction queue. Railways in Rhineland, let's push those down. Oh Jesus, no. Push you down. We'll go with this queue for a little while. And now the Queen have cancelled their grain route. Okay. Or is it Qing? It's like the Qing, right? Something like Qing. The Qing dynasty. Plus 16,000, that means that we can sustain significantly more construction, which means that our iron demands will go up quite a bit. I'd like to do it in Westphalia, but we don't. You know, it's not that bad of a deal doing it in Westphalia, building a construction sector, because I am going to have the infrastructure edict running here for a little while, and we're going to have the railway. So yeah, let's build our construction sectors here for a little while. We can sustain 4 of these according to our budget. If you divide 16 by 4.11, you get roughly 4. We could also go negative, in which case we would want to build 5, but let's start with 4 of these. Maybe a 5th one, actually. I don't mind that. Let's do a 5th one. This game is very much centric around, hello there, ethics of exploitation, centered around construction industry. Without the construction industry, you can't get anything done because you need to build buildings in the first place.